First off, we have Aidan Hutchinson, the D end out of Michigan, who, I'm sure everybody and their mother has a video and an opinion on, so I'll try and keep this one brief. I just think he's a solid football player, right? That pretty much goes without saying. He isn't my number one overall player on my board overall, which might come as a surprise to some people, but we'll cross that road when we get there. For now, as you see, 87.04 in the first round, at the top of my board, in my top 5, almost assuredly, at least of the guys that I've done. I've only done 70-ish guys at this point, so I haven't done everybody, but he's right at the top. In terms of what I think makes him special, it's I would say his ability to do both in terms of rushing the passer as well as stopping the run. I was actually more impressed with him as a run stopper in terms of his ability to set the edge and anchor against some of these bigger, stronger tackles than I was necessarily his just pure explosiveness, right, and his pure ability to win with speed rushes, for example. I thought he was maybe a little bit better against the run than anything else, as really when it came to him as a pass rusher, I feel like he made his money more in terms of being a technician than, as I said, like being that flamethrower off the edge, for example, like guys we'll see in future videos, like say Kayvon Thibodeau or Boye Mafe, guys like that. Hutchinson, he tested great in terms of the combine, right? 4.7, 4.40, 6.7 3 cone, 4.15 shuttle, right? All very good numbers. I just didn't quite see those on tape to the degree that I think I almost expected, given the hype that he's gotten and the discussion he's gotten in the national media. Generally the media falls in love with these guys that are, the combine freaks. I'm surprised the media doesn't love Kayvon Thibodeau more than Aidan Hutchinson, for that simple fact that, like, to me, at least on film, one looks like a better athlete than the other, and usually the media cares more about the athleticism than they do the technique. It seems like this time it's the inverse, because Hutchinson, not a bad athlete by any means at all, don't get it twisted, but I would say he's more of a technician than he is just a pure flamethrower, as I said. In terms of some of my notes that I have here, we'll start with the positives, then work to the negatives. I thought he did a really good job, as I already said, giving up little to no ground while setting the edge. He came in at the combine 6'7", 270, and you kind of see that, right? Like, you see that he has a big frame. I know a lot of people were kind of worried about his arm length. I'm not super concerned about that. You guys should know that from previous years. But he's just a big guy, right? And he's got a big frame. He's built out, and I think you see that manifest against the run for sure. I thought he had really good counters as a pass rusher, right? Maybe not as many clean wins as, like I kind of said, you might have expected. I know a lot of people are comparing him to, say, the Bosa brothers, for example. Just, and obviously looking back, it's kind of tough because it's been years since you watched their college film, but I remember them having a lot more just like clean, one move, quick bend, easy sack, right? Just like what I would consider a clean win. Like I said, didn't feel like Hutchinson had as many of those, at least in the 6 games that I watched, right? But his counters and his motor, to me, helped him be as productive as he was. He was also really good and impressive, in my opinion, in terms of converting his speed, in terms of his initial get off into power, and then just bull rushing through guys. I thought he did a really solid job there at times. Again, going back to against the running game, I thought he had a really good job just deconstructing blocks, right? Stacking and shedding, getting his arms in the chest of the opponent, good hand placement generally. He had the strength to create separation, and then the ability and awareness to be able to shed and finish. I thought he was very solid, and in that regard, he got one of my highest block deconstruction grades of anybody over the past 2 years, as well as finishing and tackling. I also thought, that's for the most part it. I thought that he had really powerful strikes on contact, stuff kind of that you guys, I mean, if you've watched a play, you could probably see some of these things pop off. But I thought he had good power through his hips. I thought he did a really good job fighting pressure while he was bending the edge. Didn't necessarily have great bend, but when he tried to bend, the extent to which he was bending, I thought he did a good job fighting through the pressure by opposing tackles. In terms of some of the negatives, the first one I have is not the greatest bend, right? So he's not, he's not like Myles Garrett out there, or even a Bosa brother. Like I said, I think he, even though he maybe posted some of the combine testing measurements that those guys did, I just didn't quite see it. And then the next note I have is pure athleticism not quite shining through on tape. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it is a little bit of a worry when the athletes at the next level that he's going to be going against are even better. So I don't know if his ceiling necessarily is the highest of anybody in the draft, just for example. I would almost go as far to say that a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux has a higher ceiling. He has certainly more room to grow. We'll cross that road when we get there, but I think Hutchinson has a higher floor, though. I'll just say that because I do think he's further along in that process of being technically developed. I did, one thing that I wrote as a negative with a question mark, so it's, kind of a question more so than a pure negative, but, I didn't quite think that his motor was as relentless as people said it was. You read and people talk about this guy like he's never quit on a play in his life. And I thought his motor was high when the ball was relatively close, but I thought he was kind of quick at times to tempo down, which is what it is. I gave him a 7 out of 10 in that category. Some people might say that, he's a 9 or a 9.5. I didn't quite see that to that extent, but I just wanted to point that out there. Also, one of the final things is, Michigan, they would occasionally play him in coverage. I said he doesn't look comfortable in that regard. I didn't quite see him, at 6'7", 260. I didn't see him as the most fluid guy in terms of, flipping his hips and dropping back. I wouldn't necessarily want him doing that if I was taking him top 5, top 10, wherever he ends up going. Probably top 2 in all likelihood. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. I had him come out raw score 82.5. Put in the position premium, which for defensive ends, I give them 5.5% of their own grade reimbursed back into itself, right? I have D end as the second most valuable position. Comes out to, as you see on the screen, 87.04. Like I said, not my highest graded overall player, but he is, at least so far, of the guys that I've done, he's my highest graded defensive end, which, I think that's not something to scoff at. I know some people will probably be mad that he's not my highest graded overall player, but considering this is a pretty strong DN class, a very strong DN class comparatively, especially to like last year, I think that's something to notate. So with that being said, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It'll be interesting to see where Hutchinson goes, maybe less so in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, but the actual team that he goes to, because I have seen a little bit of discussion, like I said, about what position should he play? Is he a 5 tech? Could he be a 4 tech? Could he be a stand-up outside linebacker? So that'll be kind of interesting. I'm interested in the schematic fit. I think he's best as a 5 tech, but hey, we're only 2 days away, so so we'll have that answer soon enough. With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time. Peace.